Dans Lyon, il y a une jolie fille. Dans Lyon, il y a une jolie fille. Elle est jolie, parfaite en beauté, qu'elle a charmé. Elle a charmé.
The nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Divided We Stand, and we sure as hell are divided. My name's Brian Weinstein. If you're unfamiliar with this page and this show, this is Divided We Stand. You can find us on YouTube. It's a small channel. We ask that you subscribe. We don't ask for anything. We are not a monetized channel. No financial interests involved in this. You can also find us on Facebook. Our group page is called, appropriately enough, Divided We Stand. We have 1,500 members and growing. It is a private group, but if you want to become a member, we'd be glad to have you, as long as you're not a Trumper. But yeah, we'd really love to see you. Our show originates tonight from Bridgeton, New Jersey, via Louisville, Kentucky, and Arlington, Virginia. So we're all over the country tonight. That's right. We are all over the country. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host, and that would be Ryan Velez, Mr. Ryan Velez from Louisville, Kentucky, and Dr. David Price from Arlington, Virginia. How are we doing, gentlemen?
I just pointed to the smartest one on the panel.
That's right. You did point to the smartest one on the panel.
This is what I would do. If you have things to do, do not do it while Ryan's speaking. With Brian, just go to the bathroom. You don't even need to listen to him. And you can judge me for what I am.
Well, that's tonight's show, folks. We hope that you found it funny. So, no, gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? And I literally am asking that in truth. How are you doing?
You're
I'm doing
first,
okay.
Rocky.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I went to the protest yesterday in Lexington, Kentucky. Louisville was doing a river cleanup, and I decided that doing a river cleanup on the day everyone's trying to protest was not worth my time. So I went to Lexington, and I guess I could show everyone my sign because I have it handy.
Yeah, let's get a full screen here of this for you, Ron. Hold 1 second here. There you go.
There's
America,
my sign.
land of the free. And you even have the quick response code there. Isn't that great?
Yeah, my QR code is for the document that I had written so that people could take a picture of it and get it. So I was distributing that there a bit
fantastic, too. Fantastic. And Dave, what's up with you?
Well, I felt bad because all the people across America were protesting this Trump guy. So I thought, what the hell? I'd go to the protests too. So Washington, D.C., of course, is different. Obviously, it's the nation's capital. So there were 4 separate protests yesterday. There are... No, I'm sorry. Step back. That's from a week. That's from the week ago. That's Brian not knowing.
I'm trying to get a solo on you here, fella. So we're trying.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, I don't need a solo. Stay with the guys. So one of the things that they're doing here in Washington, again, nation's capital protest. So every Saturday they're protesting at Elon Musk's Tesla shop, if you will, I guess, showroom. So that's regular. And beginning yesterday, they were going to protest every Saturday at the Vice President's mansion for Vance, so we don't leave out the 2 of the unholy trio. And they had a protest at Freedom Plaza. They had a protest at the Washington Monument, and they had a protest at the White House. So what you find is that, and I think it's effective, and I'd be interested, Ryan, in what you and Brian think about this too. In the olden days, you needed a lot of numbers because that's what oh my God, 250,000 people listening to Martin Luther King, or my God, a million men marching in D.C. You don't need that anymore. Why not? Well, because then you only had newspaper, some limited TV coverage. Now everybody has their video cameras or their cell phones, or they're taking pictures. And I think it's more impressive and more important that it's spread out across the nation. Now, I looked at, 51, which is kind of one of the umbrella organizations doing this. And according to them, they had...
That's the 50 states, the 50 protests, one day.
And 51, of course, is the District of Columbia. And again, they indicated that there were protests not as large as 2 weeks ago. Didn't expect that. It's Easter Sunday. It's other things. But again, in all 51 states. And apparently there were some surprises in towns that are in all red territories. So I think, it is encouraging. We have to stay out there. I said it last time, but it bears repeating. I had a friend who said, I just can't go out there. I can't do crowds. I said, great. This friend happens to post a ton of stuff on Divided We Stand and other places, and that's what he does.
And he's not alone. There are quite a few people who just don't want to deal with crowds.
And
I understand it.
And that's fine,
Right.
Because there's many
You
other
can
ways
always
to do it.
contribute in our own way.
There are a number of groups now, nationally, that are urging and supporting phone calls to senators, to congressmen, to cabinet members, trying to get that. That's is very effective. And that's the one thing that apparently, not apparently, from what I can discover here, that's the one thing that has really increased. The numbers are pretty astounding. Now, will it have an impact? I think everything has an impact. It's a cumulative impact this time. I think another organization I saw today, sugar, can't even remember. Anyway, this organization has targeted 7 Republican congressmen in 7 kind of swingish or not, complete red districts, working to try to convince them, with extra help to at least vote against Trump from time to time. So I would say at this week, I'm even more encouraged than I was last week, with the caveat. Donald Trump is still in the White House, and as long as he is there, America is in danger.
Right. Now, Dave, obviously we're going in the right direction with the protests. Ryan, I'm sure you agree. But as you said, we have Donald Trump in office, and at this point, we haven't seen any deliberate quashing of the protests. Do you think that comes up in the future? Are they looking forward to some type of violence?
Well, I saw what happened with the guy in South Korea. I imagine that's what happens to all dictators when they they're fizzling out, and then suddenly they're fizzling out because there's protests and mass demonstrations, and then the martial law laws get enacted, and I have a feeling that's what will happen with Trump. Eventually, I think he will do that, because I don't even think most Republicans want to see the United States military used against its own citizens. I don't think they want that. I think the most hardcore racists, maybe they do. Mm-hmm. And the truest, most diehard MAGA wants that to happen. But I think the everyday Republican does not want to see that. And I think as soon as that happens, Trump will lose a lot of political capital. I don't think he can survive doing that.
Dave, do you agree that
let's 100%.
Let's term this?
Go ahead. First, let me just
because he mentioned something about with those who are Republicans, say Republicans. Let's just say, for this matter, let's call it adjacent Republicans, ones who are
kind
of on the edge. Do you feel comfortable that they will rebel against counter-violence or Kent State type situation?
Let me consult. I have here 3 witches that were actually the witches that were with Macbeth. Hold on a second here. They don't know. No, the point is we don't know. So we're just projecting, predicting in this. I want to get back to what Ryan said. I think that's absolutely true. That's the way it's going to play out. Now, we had a mini version of that yesterday in D.C. I was not there. I was at the White House at this time, but at the African American History Museum, because this spread out. It was on the Washington Monument there. I mean, it was all over, right? But so what I understand, and I'm reporting this without saying it's factual, you got the video of the police on top of a guy really kind of wailing on him a little.
Oh, really?
Right? Sounds horrible, right? Au contraire, there is a point. According to eyewitnesses, this guy attacked one of their horses, right? Now, I use this story. As many of you know, I worked for 3 years at the museum. And one day I was there. That's, for those of you who don't know, that was a Museum of News. And it was actually 6 stories and it was open. It was a really cool place. But anyway, I heard this commotion and I ran out into the lobby area. And there were 2 policemen sitting on this guy, the wrestler, and everybody's taking pictures of it, right? Or film and video. And from looking at that, that was definitely, you would have said, police brutality or something wrong. And what happened, the guy had run in, bypassed paying the bill, and said, I'm going to kill somebody, and started running through the building. Now, was that justified? I think probably, yes, it was. They didn't hurt him. I mean, so that type of thing will happen. But again, as I urge everybody, just be aware of your surroundings. I've been preaching here a little bit to the people out there because I've been involved in protests as a reporter, as an educator, certainly as a radical student in the 60s and early 70s. And something new has been added. You could always take pictures, and we know from history now the FBI was out there taking pictures, etc. But we have such good surveillance now that I'm telling people, if somebody wants to take your picture, hold the sign up, and like Brian said, your sign. If I'm going to take your picture, I say put it in front of your face. Not because I'm paranoid. I know there's a lot of ways they can look at that, and I would hate to be the cause of somebody getting a knock on their door about being a protester because of a picture that I shot. So I think there's ways to be careful. I talk to protesters out here. Again, a little bit different. I say, again, the older crowd, you brought that up last time, Brian, in Bridgeton.
Right.
Still was an older crowd.
I can only speak of Bridgeton, but that was definitely an older crowd.
I'm going to speak Washington, D.C. But I would say, oh, God, I'm making up a number here, but say 9 out of every 10, or at least 4 out of every 5 people had a long history of protesting here. So they kind of know what they're doing. It's not something new necessarily. There was a picture I was making the rounds. I don't know if anybody caught it. A 93-year-old woman was at a protest, at least, if the picture's real. I did not find a 93-year-old woman. The oldest protester I talked to on Saturday was 89. So, it's again, it's kind of interesting that the 3 of us do it because, Ryan, think about it. You're in the South, right? Kentucky is still the South, I think. And I'm here in the nation's capital. And Brian, you're in Bridgeton, New Jersey, which should be the South, but it's not.
You wonder sometimes.
Very northern South.
Very no, yeah. They did, Ryan. I don't know if I've ever told you this, and this is for everybody else too. They did a funny map of New Jersey, and like it had, poor New York City, next to it, and the part where I lived for 59 years and Brian lives now was called Northern Alabama. Seriously, so it's a heavy.
Some people talk like they're from, not to
because
they talk like they're from Alabama
with the glass plants, and I mean Tennessee and West Virginia, a lot of roots there. Anyway, the idea of it is we get to hear 3 different things in terms of geography. Granted, nothing from the far west yet, but yeah. So Brian,
I do have not so much as a devil's advocate, but to ask both of your opinions on this, because Ryan, you talk about the military. If the military comes out, or he has some type of insurrection act, you're suggesting that that will be too much. But here's what I do want to say, and because again, this is coming from a Russian type of background. What if he puts out paramilitary groups? You know, the Proud Boys. We know what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin. That seems to be what the Russians like to do. Why wouldn't he do that? Or would he do that? And then if that happens, does that get out of control? Because, you know, who's going to be, you know, minding the shop when that happens, so to speak? So I'll leave it up to both of you. Ryan, you want to start off with that?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think that Trump will do that. I don't see why he wouldn't do that. And make no mistake, I definitely think that when this happens, there will be people who are shot and killed. And just shot and injured. You know, I definitely think that's going to happen. But regardless of whether it's the military or not, I think people are going to know that Trump is ordering it.
But they didn't do anything. Even my cousins who were Trumpers. I'm sorry to interrupt, by the way, Ryan.
Okay.
When Kyle Rittenhouse was not convicted, they were pleased as shit for that. So even if they did do something horrific, how could we know based on, you know, empirical evidence of what has happened in the past? How do we know they'd actually say, "Oh, this is just too revolting"?
Well, I think there's distaste for it, and it's growing every day. And I mean, I'll note this: if they start shooting people in the streets and there is no consequence, the other side can shoot back next time. I mean, that's basically what will happen. It's like, is that what you really want? You want to start shooting each other in the streets? Either there's consequences or it keeps happening. Mm-hmm. And I think most people don't have a taste for that. You know, like I said, I do think there will be violence. The question is, you know, how long will it go for? Will it be protracted? Will people be...
So you don't see this as the same reaction the Republicans had to Kyle Rittenhouse? No, you see that this will be too much?
There's a secondary level to this, too. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the worst thing in the world for business is? Martial law. Like, if everyone is too afraid to go to protests, they are also too afraid to go
to Amazon
to go to the you know, a restaurant for fun or meet with friends or go to the movies.
DoorDash.
Like yeah, exactly. Like, you want to be a DoorDash person when there's military people out, you know, patrolling the streets every day? No, like, absolutely, people are going to get killed. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it's going to be tragic, and either there's going to be consequences legally for Trump or the people that do this, or there's going to be economic consequences that this country has probably never seen before.
Dave?
Okay. I have kept around to refer to different times in my life the famous photo from Kent State of the young girl. And so if you take that point, we have had, but remember, it was the National Guard, not the military. Okay. There's a big difference, a huge difference. Right.
And it certainly showed on that day.
Yeah, I don't know which one I'd rather have out there. You know, I'm just, I know I'd rather have National Guard, even though they're kids. But the idea of it is, so I think that's part of it. I think Ryan sounded very logical, and I think there would actually be Trumpers in the White House who would try to talk Donald out of it, okay, doing something like that. In a moment of anger, could he call for the military? And we don't know, fellas. We do not know. The military.
Where would he go first, though? Would he go paramilitary or military?
Well, see, my thinking is that what will happen is, I think the paramilitary will think he asked him to do it, and they'll do it. Paramilitary. Let me give you an example. I mentioned, I think earlier, that every week their boy
Dave. They say your mic has to come up just a little bit, at least.
Okay, got it.
Close. Okay.
All right. So what happens?
Thanks,
here
Infinity.
Is they protest at Tesla, right, at the showroom. I would advise people not to go there, and there's a reason for that. The Proud Boys have announced that they are going to protect Tesla's operations around America.
Oh, nobody's going to buy that.
Which is really funny because raise your hand if you want to go buy a car at a place that's surrounded by people with M16s.
Right.
Like,
And
this stuff is terrible for business.
Right.
Like, they're doing
Ryan,
it for us.
that was the first thing that came out, right? I mean, you're right on top. That, come on. Well, look, if you're a member of any white nationalist organization, and I'll include Christian white nationalists in that, there's something wrong with your humanity anyway to begin with. So there's a disconnect there. So I don't think they would be sophisticated enough to understand what you just mentioned, right? A lot of that is show too. Intimidations. Think about the bullies, and that's what we have to think about the bullies. And it's not like punch them in the nose and all that. I mean, that's part of it too. But the bullies tried to run on their reputation. Did you see bullies beat people? I mean, a lot of times it was just, they didn't want to get involved either. So will there be violence? Yes.
So both of you think there is going to be violence.
I think it's almost inevitable.
Well, look at January 6th. That's proof that there will be violence. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he was doing when he was losing power. I expect a dictator to do the same thing when he loses power again, or thinks he will lose power.
Now, we all know Trumpers, right? I mean, I would assume
Absolutely.
every human being knows it. And most of them are family, friends, working associates, whatever, okay? And most of them, I think we would have said prior to Donald Trump, we didn't look at them as evil, vicious, mean, nasty people. We might not agree with them. One group that I've seen emerge in this, and I think it's nationwide, is really nice women who married the wrong men and have been
Yes.
sucked into that. I know for a fact of many. No, I shouldn't say many. I know some enough. Most of the white young men I know are just angry. I mean, they're angry about everything, not just this, that, or the other. They, and I find it interesting. Today is Easter, right? I suppose, what would you say? Christmas and Easter are the days, we kind of dedicate to Jesus Christ. There's even many people who just go to church those 2 days, which is fine, whatever they choose to do. But did both of you have a chance to see Trump's official Easter message yet?
I heard something
No.
and people were revolted by it. It was, I think I read about 3
It
lines.
was the single.
Talked about Democrats or liberals.
I will say this. If Lucifer himself existed, which he doesn't, and he came down and wrote a manifesto, Trump's was worse. That's how bad it was.
But what did he say?
Misspelling. Oh shit.
Dave, do you have it there? Can you dig it up?
No, I don't. But
I can look it up. I'll look it up.
Well,
You said he
here's
posted-
basically what we started out. Happy Easter, everyone, especially you left-wing radical motherfuckers. He didn't use motherfucker. And went off on Biden. I mean, from then on, it was just every grievance that he's ever had. And somebody, for God's sakes, if you do nothing else, this is a permanent record. I'm charging the White House tonight with dereliction of duty if they don't get a goddamn spell checker on Trump. Look, I misspell all the time because it's in a rush. It's Facebook, it's social
Right.
media. This is a presidential record. So you've got things misspelled. I mean, if it weren't so deadly and so serious, it would be hilarious. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Sure,
movie
Wharton's
Idiocracy.
not laughing.
Oh, I love Idiocracy.
It's a
Coming
great.
true.
Well, yeah, it is. What's fascinating about that, Ryan, is what isn't coming true. The Handmaid's Tale is coming true. 1984 is coming true. There's elements of Brave New World coming true. Idiocracy is coming true. The only thing we don't have is Godzilla, and we're waiting for Godzilla.
Right, we're waiting for that.
I'm ready for Godzilla. We could all
Yeah.
agree on that one.
No, actually, it's funny you should say it. I posted it. I saved it. There was a really great post because I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I'm 2 years older than Godzilla, so that's kind of puts me there. He came out in 54 and I came out in 52. But anyway, they said, my God, it's like I'm in a Godzilla movie and a third of us are terrified, a third of us are cheering him, and a third of us don't realize because he's not in our town yet that he's even around. And I mean, that's kind of, it's a satirical and humorous way of saying that.
Oh man, I can't even paste the tweet in because it's 899 characters.
Oh,
too
I
long.
know. That's. Yeah. You know what we should do tonight? We should have our first. Here we go. We should have our first organized attack. We should tell Elon Musk to go back to the original 40-character Twitter. That's what we should do. And because remember when it was that way, and it was
Right.
actually kind of fun because you'd see how many unnecessary words you.
Yeah,
would
he
use.
wouldn't have the patience to post multiple threads.
No,
you know.
no, I know that, but and I wonder, like tonight, okay, at Mar-a-Lago, or if he's in DC, whatever, what is he like at 8:30 at night?
Right.
We know what he's like at 2 a.m. in the morning because the Adderall's kicked in, and he's up, tweeting. Well, you shouldn't call it tweeting. I'm sorry, Elon, you're Xing. Well, anyway. Now there's something I was thinking about this week. Turn it over to you two guys. Where's Elon Musk this week?
Oh, he's been gone for like 3 weeks. He's been
I know,
out
but I know. So what does that mean? We don't know.
I know what it means. He is, well, at least I think I know what it means.
Right.
I think that he has realized that what he's been doing is costing himself too much, and I think he is
True.
terrified to not be the richest man in the world. He's already not the richest man in the world. That's Vladimir Putin. But
Right.
Correct.
Putin doesn't brag about the money he has. So, Elon Musk, I think, is terrified that he will become not the richest man in the world, and he is, basically trying to be in the spotlight.
I think Carlos Slim now has moved into the second spot, I believe, ahead of Jeff Bezos. So if that's true, we could all just give money to Carlos Slim, so that Elon would go nuts and do that. And again, you have to wonder with the egos involved. And Bezos sends up his penis-shaped spaceship with five women on it. I think 5, 7, whatever it was. They were all women. And we can't even agree on that. Is that good or bad? People, it's only 11 minutes. Or why Katy Perry? Why not Hannah Montana? Yeah, it's like, wow. And
what's your feeling about that, gentlemen? About setting up?
I think billionaires
famous
shouldn't
people.
exist because I think sending
There you are.
any random people into space, famous or not, is not really helpful.
No.
Do we have to have another
problem.
tragedy for these people
Listen,
to?
do you really think, honestly, that given humanity the way we are, we could even get to Mars in less than 100 years? I do not. My understanding of it is at this point, there's no material on Earth that will protect us from the radiation that would be encountered
Right.
on a trip from Earth to Mars. Forget about all the other logistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know we can't go to Venus. We're
Well,
certainly
we might become Venus the way we're going. That's for sure.
Well, that part is very true, Brian.
Bring Venus to us.
Yeah, but
you don't have to do anything. Just do the
And you know
Trump
what?
thing.
It's funny, the little things that hit you. As I said, I went to hear. I mentioned I went to hear Juan Williams, who from did the original Eyes on the Prize, and many people know him. If you followed news since the 70s on, I felt good. He was. I'm only 2 years older than him when I went to see him. We were talking after, but one of the things as I left the Martin Luther King Library. Now, remember, if you don't know D.C., Martin Luther King is, if there were a downtown, it would be the center of the downtown. Okay. And it's huge. It's a 6-story library. It just got named, not nominated, actually won Best Library in the United States of America. And I think it was deserved. It's a phenomenal place. And one of the things they do is they make it an informal, impromptu home for the homeless. And I left at 9:05, which is not that late at night, and there were already 22 people ensconced there, right? And I'm thinking, okay, and how much did Bezos spend on that space launch? And in his own hometown, and now we've replaced Silicon Valley now. Do you realize that, right? Musk is living here. Bezos is living here. Zuckerberg just bought a house here. Google head is here. So they know where they want to be right now. But I'm sorry, I just don't buy the idea of, first Ryan said what you said, there shouldn't be billionaires. But even if there are, they shouldn't be spending money in space. I say spend money here, try to save the Earth here, because I really don't think. I think it just proves they were incels when they were young and read some science fiction and probably think, or have you been following the Musk story about his harem? That's been interesting too.
Harem or hair?
Harem.
Yeah, I know he has a bunch of children with a bunch of women, and they're
And he's putting them together.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Oh, I say supposedly, and he doesn't deny it. He had some kind of botched penis surgery or something. He was trying to like enhance himself, and then it went horribly wrong, and he can't impregnate people naturally, I guess. And so he approaches women, asking them, "Would you carry my seed?" is the phrase that he uses. And
Correct.
And my understanding is he doesn't deny that that's the case. So it's kind of that is what it is.
But what I liked about and there was you talk about eugenics and Nazism and fascism and Musk. Here's the thing. Musk has said, is on the record as saying, super intelligent people must have more and more children. We must populate the world with mini-me's. He didn't use the term mini-me's, but that's what he's talking about. We got one Elon Musk is too much. Now
I think
the one
he's going to equate wealth with intelligence. I mean, he's never going to take an IQ test.
That we got to research. Somebody out there, get on that computer right now. I read, and again, you can't believe anything you read or see now. You just can't. That his IQ was pretty high. Now I don't.
Right, we don't know. When he took the test, if it was an online test.
I understand all of that, Brian. I know. I don't know. I mean, but
I want to hear how he speaks, and then I'll get some idea of his intelligence. And I didn't feel, from what I heard coming out of his gob, that this is a man with great intelligence.
Well, I will say, I don't know if the claims about his autism are true or not. Like, he says that he has autism, but I mean, who knows? But I will say that one thing about intelligence that a lot of people don't really consider all the time is that, when you're really low intelligence, we consider it a disability. But when you're really high intelligence, it can also be a disability. And so he can be as brilliant as he claims.
Correct.
But if you can't relate to everyone, then it's a disability. And
of course, he stood there and said, empathy is the weakness of the Western world. And he believes that. That's just really, really, really sad. Now, what I find interesting, when you said it, I hadn't really thought about that before. So this was a week. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Robert F. Kennedy Jr. say something like this? Autism will never have children. We'll never have a job. Yeah. We'll never fall in love. We'll never create a song. Well, let's assume for a moment that Elon Musk is autistic. If I were Elon, I'd go, listen, Elon, go punch RFK in the nose. Do it.
No. Dave, you've got it backwards. He doesn't really have a job. He's not really married.
Well, that's true.
But I know I'm making that joke.
No, you're absolutely right. But I don't care. Go punch him anyway. I'm not a violent person, but I want you to go punch him now. You know what happens though, and we're sitting here laughing about it. But I think one of the most tragic things is that Donald Trump brings out the worst in all of us. Not just to support. It's the worst in all of us. I've had thoughts that I've never really had before, in terms of now, one of the great debates, and I'd like to hear you guys to chime in. I have very strong feelings about this, but I'll withhold until you guys chime in. Do you hate anyone who voted for Trump? Do you think you should have any business talking to them? Where do you line? And there's no right or wrong in this. It's just, where do you line up on that question?
So I believe in giving people chances, and I believe leaving the door cracked open so that when they demonstrate, the want to turn, that's fine. And I'm not out to make friends right now. I'm out to get Trump out of office.
Correct.
Now, after that, I know that most of these people, they lack empathy, and that is the problem. And that's how we constantly have these problems. And so if they unify with me and everyone on Trump, once he's gone, or him and Vance are gone, or whatever combination of people are gone, they're going to revert back and be like, okay, we did our job. And then they're going to become jerks again. And so my opinion is I'm not looking to make friends with people. I want them to stand up and I want them to vote accordingly, at least in the short term, because in the long term, it requires empathy. And the only way these people gain empathy is when they suffer not just a little bit of hardship, but extreme hardship. If it's just like I lost my job, but I got another one 6 months later, that's equivalent. Right. They're only going to be a 6 month empathetic, and then after that, they're done. But if they like lose family members, everyone's losing, their job, they lose their life savings. If they get really destroyed by it, then they'll change their tune. And in that point, then I can be their friend. So I don't believe in permanently pushing them out, but I say that as somebody who deleted Facebook. I don't talk to these people anymore. And every Trumper in my life I have pushed away. They all have one way to contact me, and that is through email. They cannot contact me any other way. So I'm leaving it open, but that's it. That's how I'm approaching it.
Right. Well,
Brian,
let's go back to our philosophical commentary and thoughts about determinism and free will. I think that Trumpers, after January 6th, I can't even have the conversation with them, but we can say that, a criminal, if you took my view of determinism, the criminal's guilty, but it was the disposition that led him to that behavior. But I can't, if I were a judge, I can't let him run free because he's a menace to society. So I think the question when you ask, Dave, do you hate them? I don't know if it's hate, but it's they must be suffocated in the sense that they can't continue this behavior much like a criminal can't continue the behavior. And I personally have found it beneficial to myself just not to have any conversations with these people. I don't want to go through the arguments. It doesn't work. You've done it yourself, Dave. I know that. You've just, in many cases, just said it's just not worth it. So the answer is, it's not that I hate them, but I can't cut them a break any more than I can give a criminal a break, even though, of course, they may have had a bad life and this and that. We have to protect society. Society's number one. And the second thing is, no, I won't have any discussion with them. Not about politics, at least. They want to talk about the weather. That's fine.
And I go back and forth, and which is very unusual for me. Usually, I make a decision and I stand. So 2 weeks ago, I decided no politics on my Facebook page. Okay, and I thought this is a good way to go. And that lasted about 16 minutes, and and maybe I don't know why. Maybe the reporting did this. I was a reporter for 12 years. Like the negativity in the comments, they don't bother me. Like I feel like I can almost, like go out in their diseased world. And I've been spending more and more time, not to change them, okay, but to find out. I'm just fascinated. How the hell does somebody support Donald Trump? I mean, I really am. We can speculate all we want, but only they know. Which leads me to an interesting thing that we may show you later, or we may maybe just hold the stuff, Brian. You put it on Divided We Stand Facebook. We'll give it. But anyway, so here's what happened yesterday for me. I go regularly to the Peace Vigil, 24/7 Peace Vigil. Many of you have heard me speak of it before. It's at the White House. It's in Lafayette Park. It has been there for 42 years. It was started as anti-nuclear. Put up just one of those pictures so they can see
Dave,
one of the topics.
I'm just going to go.
Just grab one while they're up there. All right. This is before that. This was a protest on Thursday that I went to at the White House. This was a reenactment for an hour of the very first pro-gay protest in 1965 at the White House. Now, at this point, when this took place, President Eisenhower had signed into law that homosexuals were banned from holding a government job. 10,000 people lost their work. And so and what was interesting, guys, 2 of the original protesters were there. So I got a chance to talk to them. That was pretty interesting. So take that one down and then jump to one, Brian, from the...
different one?
No, not from that. Go down to the the colored one, the one
hold
in
on.
color.
For a second, Dave. Let me just.
Yeah, take your time, because they're just more of the same. And you post them, Brian, this week as you see fit on the page.
All right. I just want to get this one thing out of here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
right,
So any
so-
one of the colored. Yep. Any one of those
Okay.
three in that row.
Okay.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about. And click the other two views too, so you can kind of see that. And no, too far. Right there. And as you can see that that is my friend Filipos Malaku Bello.
Where's he from,
is
Dave?
In short, he's actually from California.
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling him to write a book. What a story! The short version is his father was not in the first wave of the Black Panthers, but in the second. The first wave was in Oakland. The second was in San Francisco, and he has been protesting all his life since he was a child. But I mean, he was there. He lived. He's sort of like a Forrest Gump type. You know, lived through all these things. Anyway, very smart, great. So I just want to. I always go up and talk to him for a while, and if everything works out, beginning in June, we'll be broadcasting from there. Now,
Anyone in particular want me to go next, Dave?
yeah, go any of the signs. Go up a little bit. Go to the woman in the red right there. She was a very interesting character right here. That is a woman. She was about 4'3", right? And we were talking, and this is how small a world it is sometimes. So, if everybody remembers, when Donald Trump first met with Vladimir Putin in Finland, and the only person there, was a translator, and everybody was horrified. And the news came back here, and a young man who had been with Hillary in the campaign put on Twitter, which was then Twitter, it wasn't X, said, "Oh my God, we got to do something about this." You know, we got to. And so he said, "Well, why wait? Let's go." And they went that night to the White House, and from that came what was called the Kremlin Annex. And for 18 months, there was a protest there every single night. Well, I would go up there sometimes. You know, if they didn't have a speaker, I would speak, or just go up, contribute money, go up and just talk to people. Good. Well, one of the coolest things there was a dinosaur running around, and that little woman, she was a dinosaur. I didn't know that, and so she's been protesting for 4 years with Trump. She said, "I took a 4-year break, and now I'm back every day somewhere." This one was I thought was kind of clever. There. And it was funny. I mean, the signs really do show some cleverness. Now, it gets a little bit weird. Just leave that for a moment before you push play.
Okay.
So, for anybody who's familiar, if you were to go away, not out where the spokes are, but come the other way, you'd be at the White House, all right? So, this is what would you call that? The egress, I guess, or exit to Lafayette Park and the White House. And as I started leaving the White House, I could hear this voice, and you could hear him talking about pro-Trump. See if you can click on and see if you can get this. This is what he was doing.
Can you hear?
No volume whatsoever.
No volume, yeah.
Okay, then I've got to try this. Let's see what happens.
Asking questions. They don't seem to like questions.
No.
I'm sorry if my questions offend you.
Yes.
I invite them to come and talk. I ask them questions. What?
Now, do you want me to go
So
to the other
what
one?
he was saying, no, not yet.
Okay.
He said, what he was saying is, I could hear him say, he says, they don't like questions. They. So I figured, okay, he's a Trumper. And sometimes my wife just looked at me like, you are friggin' hopeless. I said, I got to go give him some questions. So move it back to the single picture. Right. Not that one, Brian, the one before it.
This one here? Because we're there.
No.
Or this one here?
The one down at the bottom. No, the other one. One more.
All right.
Not that one. This
No?
one. So I went to the mic and we started discussing it. It was kind of interesting. His name is Dr. Love. He is 100% a Trumper. He's also a musician. And the guy standing in the middle is one of the most fascinating characters. I know, John, in Washington, D.C. He's a Trumper who works at the Peace Vigil. Try to wrap yourself around that.
Peace for
But
who?
anyway, the vigil we showed before. That's right. I mean, how can you be for Donald Trump and be for world peace? It doesn't. But It's okay, and they need everybody they can get. But anyway, so we started having this conversation, and I hadn't played keyboard live for about 18 months since I last played out. And there was a keyboard there and a guitarist. And he saw that I had my phone has a key case. So I said, "Are you a keyboard player?" I said, "Yes." And this was the result. So just hit play. That's good enough. Cut it.
Right.
So anyway, there is a live at the White House jam session between a person who despises every breath Donald Trump takes and somebody who supports him. And now there's a chance that we're going to do that every week and bring people in and talk, where he'll talk about his love for Trump and I will talk about my hate for Trump, and we'll see where it goes. No, but it's just as I say, this guy was fascinating. Now, I asked him, this is specifically what I asked him. I said, the way I look at it, I said, sir, is there's three
You used pepper
ways.
spray, Dave?
No,
Okay.
can you take? I can't see the whole question. Can you take
Just
the
asked
timer
if
off,
you
Brian?
use
Take
travel
the
with
damn
pepper
time.
spray.
Yeah, take the timer off so I can see the question. Thank you. Does it travel with pepper? No. No, I don't. And I've had this argument with my family and with friends and all that kind of stuff. I'm not that brave. I'm not that good. But maybe I overrate my ability to talk myself out of things. I hope you all come to my funeral if that happens, if I don't have it. No, I don't put myself in dangerous situations. Like, for example, I would not go to Tesla and protest. I keep my eyes open, whatever. Now, back to this guy. So I asked him three questions. I said, all right, I said, Donald Trump. I said, you could support Donald Trump as a person, right? As a businessman, a person, take him out of politics. I said, you could support Donald Trump as the president of the United States. And you could support Donald Trump as the head of the Republican Party. He said, that's easy. I support him in all three ways. And I was trying to get him to say, which was, he says, they're equal. So that's part of the problem. All right. They're not just talking about the president. They're just talking about head of their party, which he's no more, I'm as Republican as he is, as Trump is. He's just for Trump. And then you've got the person. And once they've got to the person, you've got a real problem. Mm-hmm. And so what should I say? I guess I get a thrill out of just messing with them. I don't win. I don't lose. It's not a contest. I'm not going to convert anybody. But I think one of the things, without trying to say, oh, I'm so great, I think one of the things I can do is just speak, and I don't really care. And if something happens, I guess it would happen. But also, I've eaten at Brian's house, and if Brian cooks, that's very challenging. You could die doing that too. So why not do it? The one thing that I think I try to stress to everyone, myself included, whatever you can do, do it. It's just that simple. Don't expect anybody, what you can do, you do, and what you can't do, you don't do.
Right. So
now, if we get a record contract, out of that, then I probably won't be on the show anymore. But up until then,
David,
one last thing I want to say. Go ahead.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted you to mention to everybody, you are going away. Not this.
I
week,
am. It's interesting. I will be on a 16-day Eastern Europe writing trip with the Smithsonian. So that's going to be fun. They'll be setting up political interviews. I'll be in Hungary to see that. I'll be in Poland. And if you know anything about, I'm not really good with world relations, but Poland has fought its way out of kind of a dictatorship, right? And Hungary is trying. And what I'll be most interested in, and that's what the reason that the group is going, is to see what the attitudes are, firsthand in Europe, and bring it back. So, and again, I'll feel very safe because I'm with the Smithsonian, and they're not going to let anything happen to us. So it's not like, oh, I'm going by myself and
so
gonna do that.
Are we calling this a guarantee?
Let me say this.
You want to tell Judy that it's guaranteed that nothing will go wrong.
Well, you can't guarantee anything, but I will say this: I love myself too much to put myself in any jeopardy. If I see jeopardy, well, Brian, you've been through it. You teach in Bridgeton. I taught in Bridgeton. People would say to me, and I'm sure they said it to you: "You teach in that school?"
Right.
Yes. That's so dangerous. No, I never felt. I mean, I broke up fights, but I never felt threatened there. And I think a lot of times, and again, people can be whatever they want. They look for the worst. Let me rephrase that. It's hard not to put your own feelings on somebody else. So if they felt that would be dangerous, they're worried about me, and I appreciate that. I'm not saying callously. I thank everybody for that, doing that. Let's see what we got here from Sandy. Daughter's going to London, girlfriend in October, and they had to do a new special process. Yes. I think, and Ryan, you're like kind of both you guys are the numbers expert, but I think at last I saw 14 European nations have issued a travel advisory, not saying not to come to the United States, but beware. And we've seen, what is it? I think it's up to a 70% drop and climbing of travel from Canadians to here. Mm-hmm. People along the border of Canada are putting up signs like saying, "Please come, we love you. We're not against you." It's that guy. So I guess I'm going to ask a question for both of you, and it's one I like to ask, and I ask it periodically. Okay, we concluded the show last week. Ryan, you were busy, but so we've got another full week. We end this show tonight. Are you more optimistic about America's chances of surviving, less optimistic, or about the same as you were this time a week ago?
I am more optimistic. I'm just mostly concerned about billionaires because I don't like Trump's old. One way or the other, he isn't going to be there forever. And I think Vance represents a bigger threat, and it's because he's backed by billionaires. And I think it is really going to come down to basically what Bernie Sanders has been saying for decades. We have to get rid of billionaires. That our country cannot afford them and exist. So I'm hopeful. But
I'm going to interrupt and comment on that, and then go to you, Brian. But what I was a little disturbed about this weekend, infighting is good. I did not like the fighting between David Hogue and James Carville. Now, if anybody doesn't know who he is, Hogue was one of the survivors at Parkland and became very political. And he's now number 2 in the Democratic Party with his charges is getting new people into the party. That's what he's trying to do. And he now is raising millions of dollars to get other candidates to run against old guys, is really what he's doing. Carville comes along and and doesn't like that because Carville, his thing is it's the economy. Well, the problem is the Democrats haven't run on the economy, right? I mean, they haven't. They just didn't. Biden didn't convince anybody. But now into the mix is my least favorite of the Democratic candidates, Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if you know who he is. Stephen A. Smith is probably the most well-known mouthy sports commentator in America on ESPN. Black gentleman. Knows his sports, no question about it. But he is to sports what Donald Trump was. It's just showboating for him. So now he is actually kind of thinking about throwing his hat into the ring for the Democratic nomination. Now, all that could be fought out, but I think what made me think of that, Ryan, is what you said. It's very simple. We cannot survive with the oligarchs. We can't. Okay, Trump is part of it, but that's not the worst of it. It is the oligarchs. Bernie and AOC are right. I'm not saying to make Bernie president, AOC vice president. I'm just saying, but he is right. He's been right. AOC is right. She's been right. Okay, Brian, you optimistic, less optimistic? Where you at?
I am going to keep it steady. I am very pessimistic because I know human nature, unfortunately. But, there are some surprises. But, no, I have no optimism as long as 73 million Americans are armed to the teeth and willing to kill us, willing to vote for a felon.
See,
I'm
going to go back. I'm going to challenge you on your numbers.
And the temperatures will back me up.
I'm going to go with Ryan on this one and against you in this sense. Yes, I don't think everybody voted for Trump is going to take up a gun. I don't think everybody who voted for Trump will even support that kind of violence. So we shall see. And having said that, will there be violence? Yes. And it may be Maybe it'll take a few. I don't know. I know I've people have argued with me. Well, if that were the case, if it just took a few after Columbine, you realize Columbine was 1999. Yesterday, what's today? Is it day the 20th? Yeah, 1999. This is Columbine, and after Columbine came Sandy Hook, and after Sandy Hook came Parkland, and just as recently, think about the poor. I think I read. I'll have to talk to my friend Sarah because she would know. I think there were 21 students at Florida State the other day locked down in a shooting who had attended Parkland when the shooting occurred there. What are the chances of getting in 2 of those in a life? So we're a violent nation, Brian. I can't argue with you on that.
I'll tell you when we'll learn how to behave as a country and there won't be any guns under one condition, and that's when China invades us and wins.
Yeah, but I was thinking about that. And actually, for not an American Chinese restaurant, a Chinese restaurant from
You might
China.
look forward to them winning. Right.
I did. I went over. Their food was great. So,
You know, I might at some point, if you had to choose between Trump and living under a type of Chinese government, I might say I can deal with this.
Well, one other thing. I know you got to go to school tomorrow, but we'll keep you up on that. One of the other people I was talking to at the protest was a Chinese woman. Now, her English, she kept apologizing for it. And I said, I did niao and zhen. That's about the extent of my Chinese. But it was interesting. She said, and this was her, and of course, it's all relative, right? She said, well, you used to have freedom. We had no freedom. And I wanted to say to it, well, today we do. But, you can't answer for tomorrow.
And let's not forget, as we sign off here, there is, as Eric Fromm said, there's freedom from and freedom to. People have a different opinion of what freedom is. So what you and I feel is freedom is not necessarily what a Chinese person or even a Republican feels.
Wow.
And we'll get into that
Joe,
next time. But gentlemen, I really do appreciate it. And yes, Joey, you are correct. About 30 years ago yesterday, and that's now we got a bunch of Timothy McVeighs essentially. So anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see everybody next week. Correct? We're okay.
I'll be fine for next week. The week after, I'm in Boston.
All right. We'll take care of that. Dave, we'll see you next week.
And then I said I will send reports back. I won't be live because I think it's 6 hours difference, and I don't even know what day it'll be over there, let alone what time.
All right.
But I will send reports as things develop, and you can talk about it on the show. And I'm sure that when I'm gone, the ratings will drop, but I will be back.
Okay, we'll lose 2 viewers. Okay.
I was thinking one, but
okay.
I got
all right,
2.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and then we'll see you next week. And we'll also see you on Divided We Stand on Facebook. Okay, we'll see you.